I can't figure, try to getting into a mind of a suspect is probably incredibly impossible, but you see these chases.
Certainly. Well, the erratic behavior, yeah, they're common in these pursuits. You know, we see it quite frequently. And, you know, you're right. You can't necessarily get into the mind of the suspect because it differs in many cases on what might be going on. If there's, you know, any sort of controlled substances involved, or if it's just a desire to get away, you know, and it's such a great desire to get away. We don't know what other crimes they may have committed or be involved with. We don't know what's in that vehicle, quite frankly. So everything is a risk to the officers and the deputies who go into these pursuits, and obviously that risk is transfers over to the public. So we're constantly training for this type of stuff. We're constantly reassessing. Any watch commander that's managing this pursuit is going to be considering all those factors: the speed, the direction of travel, the speed, all of the traffic conditions, you know, what the suspect's driving behavior is. All those constant assessments are going on, and ultimately that watch commander and other supervisors have to make very critical decisions.
Here comes the pit in the freeway.
Well, he did
wow, right into the wall. A very rare pit maneuver on the freeway. Okay, they're going to have their guns out here. He's on the shoulder. This is just north of this is on the 5 freeway, just north of Rinaldi, where they just performed a pit maneuver on the freeway from the HOV lane. He was out of control for a couple of lanes. Guys, okay, Jay, relax, Jay. All right, so we have K-9 units on the scene down there, and officers with their guns drawn, and now several more pulling up. I can tell you CHP and the Sheriff's Department are both overhead here, and they are instructing him to get out of the car. But again, he crashed right into that wall after a very rare pit maneuver in the middle of the freeway. He had lots of room in front of him, but he was slowing down. It looked like he was running out of gas. It might even be a female. Not sure, but it might even be a female. No, it's a male. Okay, so a male driver. Okay, he had plenty of room to play with. It certainly appeared from my perspective, guys, that he may have been running out of fuel. He was, you know, going upwards of 100 miles per hour, and then for no reason at all, was down to about 50 to 60 miles per hour. And just started slowing down from there. Once he dropped below 50, they went with a pit maneuver, which is very, very unusual, even at those speeds, and especially on the freeway. I can't remember the last time I've seen that, especially with so much traffic around. A very aggressive tactic there, and now you can see they've got him with his hands out of the vehicle, officers with their guns drawn, and a K-9 officer standing by right there as well. Guys, what a dramatic pit maneuver that was.
I believe he threw his keys out of the car door. That little black spot there, I believe, are the keys, and he's showing both of his hands, being very careful to show his hands at all times as he's instructed. So it looks like hopefully he's going to just give himself up peacefully, so far following the
and I didn't get to thank Captain Darren Harris for joining us and telling us and kind of talking us through this moment when this pit maneuver happened. But again, it really was very dramatic. We don't really see it. But the CHP had slowed down all the traffic and blocked all the traffic behind him, so they at least felt that they had it was only them putting themselves in jeopardy.
It was pretty free and clear right there. They took their opportunity and went with it, which was probably really wise given the speeds this man was driving.
Yeah, he's got a pretty baggy sweater on. They're gonna have him turn around, keep his hands in the air there, and eventually onto the pavement. He's walking backwards towards CHP officers there. Arms still in the air. He looks like he's kind of obeying, but he's definitely slow to respond here. Okay, now he's on his knees, and eventually he will be proned out on the shoulder here. Again, the northbound side of the 5 freeway completely shut down right now, as the CHP prepares to take this guy into custody. From our vantage point, he was the only person for now that we could tell inside that car. We'll find out for sure once they approach the vehicle and give the official code for it, but just very hard to tell with all of that tinted window. But you can see he's now proned out on the shoulder, and it looks like he is complying at this point.
All right. Well, Chris, we're looking at some video of the pit maneuver that took place right there north of Rinaldi, right on that freeway. And again, we were talking to Captain Darren Harris from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. He's actually still on the phone with us. Captain Harris, doesn't it seem kind of unusual to do a pit maneuver on the freeway as we watch the suspect's car being cleared?
It might be unusual, but it happens at times. I mean, during these pursuits, constant decision-making is occurring, as I mentioned. And, if they see an opportunity, especially with a suspect that's driving this erratic and is potentially armed, that, they're going to try to seize that moment and that opportunity to put an end to this and do so safely. So, not to speak on behalf of their procedures, but the officers' process might be thinking about, hey, I have an opening and this is very dangerous and I'm going to, no public vehicles around and I could potentially put an end to this. So it looks like that's exactly what they did, and it looked textbook from everything I saw.
Yeah. We really appreciate you giving us a call and filling us in, Captain Darren Harris. We really appreciate that. And that was almost like a picture-perfect pit maneuver. It was quite impressive maneuvering there.
Yeah, and you could see why it must be quite scary for that suspect when you see that canine just going nuts right next to
your dad was a canine officer.
We did.
Those are strong dogs.
They are strong dogs.
That officer's having a hard time keeping them back.
Well, you know what? I'm sure the officer's going to be doing a little more talking with his dog soon, saying, you better behave. But yeah, we did have canines, and we always had German Shepherds.
Okay, you bet.
They get excited, I guess. That is their job. But it is, when they let the dog go into the car, you just hope that there is nothing dangerous inside the car, because those dogs are just, they have lots of courage.
Well, there you see it again, that pit maneuver right there on the freeway.
Right,
and thankfully, despite his erratic driving, his excessive speeds, no one was hurt that we know of. And it looks like it's ending peacefully, and that is good news all around.
Certainly is. I know Chris Christie is live at Air 7 HD. Chris, anything else you want to say?